Stay tuned for On Cue. For KSMQ, I'm Eric Olson. We're going to talk with Sarah Hartman and Laura Helle from the Austin Human Rights Commission. We're going to learn about their work in the community, very important work, and learn also about Austin area arts. Also, we're going to chat with Marcus Thompson. He's the Mower County Solid Waste Officer, talking about recycling. It's all coming up next on Cue.
Local ideas that matter to you, sharing our region's unique point of view, telling the stories that you never knew. On Cue, on Cue.
The mission of the City of Austin Human Rights Commission is to cultivate a just and inclusive community where diversity is valued, human rights are respected. We're going to learn a lot about that here in our time together. Here with us to discuss the mission and their involvement, Commission Chair Sarah Hartman and Commissioner Laura Helle, community representatives. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
How did you become involved and the interest in serving? It's a volunteer work. How did you become interested in it?
Sure. So we moved here at the end of 2017, and I didn't know anybody, and my husband had become part of the chamber already, so I also joined that. And just to kind of take it a step further, because I was really passionate about LGBTQ rights, I wanted to join the city's commission and be a part of that and help make a change.
So you were already familiar with this type of body that engages in cities, Human Rights Commission?
Very lightly. I had never done it before, but I figured we're in a new place and might as well jump in and be as much integrated with the city as we can.
Laura, what kind of work does the commission engage in, mostly on garden variety type issues? What are they?
Sure. We have a couple of goals every year, and one of them is to help people find and access the state human rights department. So if you have a human rights violation of some sort, we do have a state resource that will help you address that situation and remedy it, whether it be at work or renting or in any other format. So we want to bring awareness to those resources. And then we also do a lot to celebrate diversity and celebrate it's sort of the individual populations and communities within Austin. So we help support Taste of Nations every spring, which is a celebration of all the different refugee and immigrant communities here in Austin. And so there's an events type calendar, different things that we do throughout the year. And then there's the ongoing work of making sure people are aware of the state resources.
Okay, that's interesting because you think of the word commission and I think of like a courtroom or something where these serious issues, but you're helping get information out to people.
Right, yep, to call out each individual group, as Laura said, and we have quite a few events throughout the year that we do as well, like Martin Luther King Day is a big one for us. We did a Pride event last year in collaboration with 4th Avenue Fest. This year it will be a separate event along with a 5K run, and all of those proceeds will be given to the Trevor Project when everything is said and done for a good charitable cause too. I think what else do we do throughout the year?
Welcoming Week is another big one.
Okay.
Yep,
do you work with the Welcome Center on things? Because that's there also to help communities from immigrant communities.
Yes, yep, we work with the Welcome Center all throughout Welcome Week, whether it's sponsorships or volunteering our time. We like to have a commission member at most of the events throughout Welcome Week, even if we're not hosting or sponsoring too, so just to show our support.
What issues, are there any large issues in Austin specifically that you deal with that maybe other places don't, or what are the hot topics these days?
Sure. You want to take that one?
Or maybe there aren't any, I don't know.
Sure. Yes, I think as the national news cycle goes and national events kind of shed light on more local issues. So certainly there have been law enforcement and police violence. And so our role as the Austin Human Rights Commission is to kind of bring that advice and special human rights lens to the city council, the elected officials. And so we'll sometimes draft a statement or a policy that and then ask them to adopt it, whether it be about ethnic and racial justice or any other kind of issue.
Okay. So it's they come to you for a voice.
Yes.
Communities of color primarily will come and say, I'm concerned about issue X, but how do I do this? How do I make change happen?
Yep, whether it's communities of color or LGBTQ communities, we have, we're the voice for them, trying to advocate for them to get, their needs shown and the problems come to light versus hiding them.
Sure. Laura, how about you? How did you become interested? I know in the past you've served on the city council also, so you're aware of government operations. Is that what led you to this service work?
It is actually. I was leaving my city council commission and heard that there was an opening on the Human Rights Commission, so I applied. I knew I was going to miss my city involvement, and human rights is a core issue for me, just personally. So it was a good fit. But yes, I kind of. A lot of people join boards and commissions and it becomes a feeder system for elected office, but I went the other way, from elected to the
I guess I didn't realize that. That's how some folks
Yeah,
get
that's
up
how
to-
some folks get familiar with city government and understand the issues and get to know the people and feel comfortable. So I think of it as our farm team, to make
Okay.
a
Yeah.
baseball analogy.
Like, for example, Obalo was on the Human Rights Commission for quite a while before he joined the city, too.
Oh,
So, and
okay.
I don't know if that was his stepping stone. I can't speak for him, but
Sure.
he was on it for quite a while and very involved. And I know he was an honorary city council
member I
as
remember
well.
that
So,
also.
yeah.
How often do you meet and how do you get members?
We meet once a month. It's the last, we've changed it. It used to be the last Monday of every month, and now it's just kind of, we go with the flow. Usually it's a Monday or Tuesday, depending on, make sure everyone can make it. And then if you want to apply or are interested, you can go out to the city website and fill out it's a really simple application. And then we as a commission will review, and of course we always want to get diversity on the commission as well. So we do what we can to keep that up.
What's your favorite part? Do you have a favorite part of this role for you?
I'd say planning. Like, I had a blast planning Pride last year, and it turned out so well. I was really surprised we had such a huge turnout. We had people from Owatonna, people from like big surrounding cities that had come down. A lot of early teens and in their teenagers came out too. It was a family-friendly event, so I think everyone had a really good time. There were kids there, and Fourth Avenue Fest helped going on too, so that was also a great event to bring everyone out too. So I just like seeing their faces. I was so surprised that it went over so well.
I thought when you said I like planning, you like planning the meetings.
Oh.
I thought that's what you were going to say, but no. Okay, the events.
The events. I like planning
Laura,
the events.
what about you? It sounds like a stressful issue and just like it could be corrosive, but you find good things happen.
Oh, absolutely. For me, everybody we're helping are vulnerable. For one reason or another, they're vulnerable in our community, and we're able to help them. And I, a lot of times, see my role as a bridge, that I'm the approachable, trusted person who can then explain how you apply for a fencing permit at the planning and zoning. And then maybe I go on and tell the planning and zoning department, hey, could we have some of our materials in several languages? That would be more helpful. So it's very much a bridge position where I'm helping vulnerable people access city services, which I happen to know about. So it's natural for me. I enjoy
Okay.
the process.
And we're fortunate in Austin, the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota has an office in Austin and a lot of expertise about issues. Do you ever interact with those folks to get information or what's happening at the state level?
We have in the past. The previous chair, Sarah
Karki.
Karki, yes. Sarah Karki was she worked there as well, so she worked closely and did a lot more work with that. I have not since I took the chair position yet, but they are still, on our radar, and we always, if we need to, or, I think we've been trying to get the state level commission to come and talk as well. We just haven't had the opportunity yet.
You mean the State Human Rights Commission?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that sort of the above? I mean, are you all part of a connected network thing, or how does that work?
Not exactly. It's actually a department like the DNR or
Oh.
Economic Development. It's the Minnesota State Department of Human Rights. And but so they do outreach to us, and then in turn, this is our plan, which has been derailed a bit by COVID, but the plan is to bring those state officials down to share their story of what the state resources are with particular populations in Austin. And so that's one of our roles, but as I said, COVID has made that a lot more difficult to just physically bring people together.
One of our goals right now.
Yeah.
And as you said, you're an advisory. That's your role as advisory.
Yes.
Advising the city council
Yes.
of Austin.
Yes.
And you have people that come from the city to be part of your meetings.
Yep. Yes, we have a city liaison, Jeff Austin, currently, and then Trish Weichman is also, does our budget reports, and she's I don't know her official.
Yeah, staff liaison.
Staff liaison,
But a
yeah.
member of the city council, and that's pretty important,
Yes.
I would guess.
Yes.
So you give recommendations, or how does it work? Do you get complaints and then things get changed? What's that process? How would that work in theory?
Well, if we kind of go back to the fencing example. So in the city of Austin, if you're going to put up a fence in your yard, you have to get a permit, and then they want to check your fencing and make sure that it meets all our planning and zoning. So let's say there's a household that comes forward because Miguel Garate is on our commission, and they know Miguel, and they say, Miguel, we're building a fence, we don't understand what we need to do. So Miguel says, okay, this is where you go to planning and zoning, they'll help you with the paperwork, you have to pay a little fee and so on and so forth, and maybe Miguel even will translate the forms, and then he'll come back to the meeting and say, we should really advise the planning and zoning department to get their forms translated. And so then we would in turn go to the city council and say, we have an idea, suggestion. Have you ever thought about getting these forms translated? And, is that something that you can find some budget for, or how can we help? So it goes from very informal, just passing on ideas, to more formal, asking them to adopt an official proclamation or even to adopt an ordinance. That's within the realm of possibility. But day in and day out, bread and butter, it's much more conversational and passing on ideas and feedback from people's actual experiences.
I think the literal "how can we help" is probably a good statement for us.
Simple help. But it can be complex waters working with government. So that's very important stuff. Thank you for your service in the city. First, it can be a thankless situation. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time here.
Thank you for having
Thank you
us.
for having us.
Sarah and Laura from the Human Rights Commission. Welcome back. The Austin Area Commission for the Arts was founded in 1990. The mission of the founders was to promote and develop the arts in Austin, as well as to oversee the ongoing preservation of the historic Paramount Theater. In the decades since, Austin Area Arts has organized the annual Artworks Festival, coming up in its 11th year this year, and opened the Artworks Center on Main Street. To tell us more about the Arts Center and her work with them is Executive Director Laura Helle. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Eric. How you doing?
Very well, thanks.
Good.
Your organization has become sort of a central focus of the city and of downtown, with art being a real positive part of the Austin experience. And it wasn't always so. Tell us a little bit about your work in developing this interest.
Sure. So I'll mention, since your intro, you said Austin Area Commission for the Arts. That is our legal name, but in 2017 we started doing business as Austin Area Arts because we did confuse a lot of people with having commission in the title. They thought it was a government or at least government related, and it's not. It's an independent nonprofit, and we like to think of ourselves as an umbrella organization. So we're the arts organization, and we have performing arts programming happening at the Paramount. We have the Summer Festival to celebrate the arts. We have visual arts at the Artwork Center and a retail area.
Classes.
And then, yes, and education. Yep. And then other opportunities do come along here and there where we can bring in additional arts or just support and partner with others who are also doing their work.
It's easy to stop remembering all those pieces when you just think of the Artworks Festival, because that is something that wasn't here 10 years ago, and it's become this big event. You would think that's all that you all do there, but you're running the historic Paramount. For folks that aren't familiar with that facility, give us a little taste of what that historic theater is like.
Sure. It was originally built in 1929 as a first-run movie house, and at that time the style was what they call atmospheric theaters. So the idea was to do the decorations and the theme that when you walked in, you were transported to a different time and place. And so when you actually walk in the theater itself, it's transporting you to a villa in Italy in the 1200s. So you see some scenery of the villa, and of course the ceiling is a domed blue sky with some starlight sprinkling in. So that atmospheric theater was very popular in the 20s, but there aren't very many of them that remain, and that's one of Austin's real true assets in terms of a historic building is the Paramount Theater.
And it didn't always look like that in the last years. It had sort of fallen on disrepair. A lot of dedicated folks stepped up.
Yes, absolutely. In the 70s, 1972, it went out of business as a first-run movie theater, and then, as often happens with big old buildings, it changed hands a bunch of times. And one of the owners ran a nightclub, which I'm sure some of your viewers got to go. It was called The Theater, and I'm sure some of your viewers have happy memories of dancing at the theater. But the owners of the nightclub painted all of that scenery and the sky and everything black, which I bet looked great for a nightclub in the 70s. But then when the Austin Area Commission for the Arts was founded in the 90s, they started the restoration work to bring it back to how it looks today.
Oh, my goodness, that was a lot of work.
It was a big challenge, yeah.
And the future holds, perhaps there'll be some more changes in the future years.
Yes, we would really love to expand. We have some pretty serious ADA challenges. So it's if folks are ambulating on a wheelchair or with crutches or have other mobility issues, it's very hard for them to get to our balcony or our stage or our restrooms. And so we'd love to be able to expand our footprint a little bit, have a bigger lobby, which would add safety and also address those ADA issues.
And what's the website address? And you have Facebook that updates your schedule.
Yep, AustinAreaArts.org is our website. Everything is there. We're also on Facebook, Austin Area Arts.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura. Thanks for your work. Welcome back. This is On Cue, the show about Mower County and Freeborn County, Albert Lee, Austin, everywhere in between. And from Mower County Public Works right now, we have Marcus Thompson, Solid Waste Officer, here to discuss his work with the county. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you do. You work at the recycling center.
Yep.
And what's your responsibility there?
I oversee the recycling center and hazardous waste facility. I market the materials that come in. I educate the public. I oversee the staff that sort through the material because you got to get the glass and cans separated and maintain the equipment, apply for grants, run the budget for the facility. There's a lot of little things to it that someone wouldn't realize.
How did you become interested in this work? How did you get in with the county?
In 2017, I started as a mechanic for the county, and so I used to have to go over there and kind of help with the work on some equipment once in a while because they don't have all the tools. So, like the previous guy, he did a lot of maintenance on the equipment, but sometimes you just don't have the tools that the county shop has. And so I found interest in it, and then when it came open, I'm like, wow, that seems like a nice fit. So
That's great. Any special education certifications required?
yeah, once I was hired on, there's a lot of state certifications you gotta do for like hazardous waste and OSHA stuff and safety training. But other than that, it's mostly just being a leader. It's you don't really need a master's degree. You just gotta show that you can handle it and be a leader.
Is most of your work in an office or desk, or are you out in the field a bit?
It's about 50-50, so that was a nice plus for me because I'm not one to sit behind the desk, but I do enjoy once in a while pushing numbers. But yeah, I get a lot of time either in the facility trying to improve things or outreach to the public. So yeah.
Is there an operation with Steele County or do we have our own landfill in Mower County?
We don't have a MSW landfill. We just have one for construction and industrial waste.
MSW, municipal?
Yes.
Solid waste.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's an acronym.
We have the transfer station by Austin, and so it all gets shipped to Iowa.
Oh, Iowa, okay. You mentioned enjoying crunching numbers. What other things do you like about your job best? What would those be?
I'd say the most rewarding part is when getting somebody new to start recycling. That's one thing I've enjoyed the most. I'm not best at interviewing or doing tours, but I have done some tours for students in the area, and there's one time I did one and over half never even heard about recycling. And I knew I made a difference when 2 of the kids drove to the recycling center on their own time after school and got recycling bins for their house.
So there's still a lot of education that needs to be
Yes,
done.
yep, that's a big thing I want to push for the near future.
Huh. And then we were talking before you went on that we pay, if you're a taxpayer in Mower County, you can get curbside pickup.
Yeah, for city residents, for Austin and most of the rural towns have it, but we don't go out like in the country. But we have drop-off sites all over the county, so it's very convenient to drop them off.
And they're already paying for it, you had said.
Yeah, it's an assessment on your taxes. I'm not sure the exact number, and it varies by your house and stuff. But yeah, someone should take advantage of it because you pay for garbage. Do you use that?
Very true. We're talking with Marcus Thompson, the solid waste officer for Mower County, and we were chatting beforehand about for people that do recycle, there seems to be a number, one of those recycle numbers with the little arrows around it for everything, but not everything belongs in a recycling center or can't even be recycled, even if it has that number on it.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge, and to do that outreach because it's confusing, and I didn't know before I was in this position, and neither did most of my family. So I'm kind of like that guy, like the recycling nerd or something, and but yeah, it's confusing. So that's my goal is to try to help people and help keep the contaminants out of our facility, so we can be more efficient and recycle more.
So you told me basic rule of thumb, I think you said, is if it's a bottle and it's plastic,
Yep.
that's
Consumer container
for
type.
sure
Yep.
it's good. You can do that. If it's a sheet of paper or like glass, that's glass from a window.
Yeah, not recyclable.
No.
Bottles only for glass.
Okay. And what's changing in that industry? I suppose manufacturers are making new containers that are sort of a mystery of what they're made of.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's one-use containers because it's cheap. It's the end of the life plastic. So once aluminum can get reused non-stop. It can never not be recycled. It goes from a can to another can. But plastic, it kind of has its end life. It can only be remade so many times. Like it'll be a bottle, well, it doesn't go back to bottle. It might turn into a carpet or clothing after that.
Oh, it loses some of its
Yes.
its elements or
Yes,
something.
yep.
And you called it one-use. What did you call it? One-use containers or something? Single use,
yes.
which means they don't get recycled.
Correct.
And that's what, food things?
Yeah,
food,
like to-go containers or
frozen food
Yeah.
boxes.
Yep.
We use a lot of those in our house. They have that kind of waxy.
yeah, that's a new thing that those can be recycled in the cardboard because or the newspaper I should say, because right now we have a really strong market that's taking our paper and they make insulation. So they don't care that has that waxy film, but they won't be able to be used to make a box again.
Oh, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
your markets go up and down.
Yeah, and so that's part of my job is to find what market we can get the most bang for a buck for, and it saves, so we can keep our program sustainable and not raise taxes.
Well, you can go to the recycling center or sign up at the curb for curb service if you're in the city of Austin. What's your address there if folks haven't been there?
It's 1111 8th Avenue Northeast. It's kind of by the truck stop Quick Trip.
The big new Quick Trip in Austin, and that's what is that, 11th? Is that the exit, or 18th, or I can't remember what to say. I think it's 11th.
It's by the Public Works building.
Somebody will correct me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much, Marcus. It was very interesting learning about your
Thanks
your
for
work.
having me.
You betcha. And that's it for today. Thank you for joining us on Q. For KSMQ, I'm Eric Olson. See you next time.